I'm a big fan. So he's on my nightstand, and I just bought, what did I just get? Oh, I got a new Ellen Hildebrand. I always read Ellen Hildebrand every summer. This one is called 28 Summers. So reading hers now.
Well, that sounds like a great list of books to
Yeah.
have.
Yeah. What about you? Tell me
Oh,
what you
goodness.
can't put on right now.
I've been reading White Fragility.
Oh, okay.
Really eye-opening, and doing a little mini book club with one of my daughters with New Jim Crow. So I'm like you, I have like 3 or 4 books going at a time, and
Yeah.
I'm lucky enough to have gotten an arc of Lisa Unger's upcoming novel.
Love her books.
Yeah, Confession on the 745, which is amazing.
That's a cool title.
Yeah,
I'm
super.
already hooked by the title. That's a sign of a good title, right?
Yes, and then reading, it's by a debut author, and of course I'm not remembering her name right now either, called Beach Read, which is about 2 writers who end up spending the summer right by each other, and they flip genres. So she usually writes romance, he usually writes more literary, and they decide to flip genres and write each other's genre. So it's just kind of a fun.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, it is.
That concept. That's very cool.
And you have a new book coming out. Yeah, so excited. And it has it's called The Lost and Found Bookshop, which I know is going to include one of my favorite things in the world, a bookstore, right?
Yes.
Yes. And so tell us a little more about it.
It's not just any bookstore. It's like the best parts of every bookstore I've ever loved. And so it's very idealized, but there's a reason for that in the book. And so it takes place on a historic district in San Francisco. And the reason it's called the Lost and Found Bookshop is that it's in an old building that survived the earthquake and fire of 1906. And as she's renovating the building, because it's falling apart, she discovers artifacts in the walls and secrets and things like that about her family and about other things. When I was kind of researching the background of the book, I came across a little factoid that when soldiers were being deployed to the Spanish-American War in the Philippines in 1898 or 99, one of those, I can't remember which, when they were about to leave, if they had some valuables or something that they wanted to keep, they didn't know where to leave it. And because they didn't have homes, in San Francisco. So sometimes they would leave it in the wall or a little cubby hole in some of the old buildings, their favorite bar or their favorite brothel or something like that. And so as she's renovating the building, she starts to find things, and it's obviously a metaphor. It's always a metaphor, right? For her kind of finding her lane, because most fiction that I really, really love to write and to read has a character at a moment of very big change in her life, whether it's foisted upon her or she chooses a new path or something like that. And so Natalie Harper, named after my publisher, HarperCollins, is she has this big tragic event in the very beginning and finds herself in charge of not only a bookstore, but her very beloved and elderly granddad who has dementia. And so she's got to reorganize her life around the idea that she wants to take care of him. She needs to take care of the bookshop. And so she's got a lot on her plate. And I think it's a personal book to me because as we were chatting earlier about, I'm in charge of my elderly mom. She's 88 and she's as sweet as she can be. She's my #1 fan, and she has the beginning stages of dementia, and she lives with us. And so I'm learning so much about it. In fact, as we were talking about other books that we read, I recently read a book called Advice to Future Corpses by Sally Tisdale, and it's about end of life choices that you make and how to embrace this stage of life, because what else are you going to do? And it's kind of entitled, but it's a really kind of a joyful book. And so my mom and I are learning stuff together, you never stop.
Yeah.
She was my first mentor, my first writing teacher. She taught me to type. I had pneumonia one year in upstate New York in the snowiest place on the planet. And my sister and I got pneumonia and we drove her nuts because we couldn't go out. And yeah, she sat me down. I was 6 years old. And she said, here's how you type. And I started typing on a typewriter at 6 years old and I wrote my heart out. So that
actually started on your path then, the right.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'm so excited to read the book, The Lost and Found Bookshop, because I think so many of us will be able to relate to so many different themes and ideas and that whole role reversal that comes with aging family members. And so I think that will resonate with so many of us. So
I hope so. I'm, one of the things that the internet does for us, it does a lot of things to us that are undesirable, but one thing it does for us is it makes us accessible to readers. And I love getting their feedback, good, bad, different, critical, whatever. When a book comes out, it's not your book anymore.
Right.
Because everybody reads a different book. And that's a concept that I try to bring in to my fictional in Lost Found Bookshop, is that you could be the catalyst to changing somebody's life with a book, or opening somebody's world with a book. And so I try to embody that when my book goes out into the world. It's like, it's not my book anymore. Somebody else is going to read it, and they read a totally different book. And if you're in a book club, you learn that, everybody reads the same book, and they come back and we talk about it. And it's like, did you read the same book I did? So I'm excited for people to read that. And I have a really, really cool editor at William Morrow Books. Her name's Rachel Cahan, and she writes the best reading group guides. Oh my God, she writes really good ones.
Nice. Yeah, that makes a big difference too. And just the thought of, people talking about your book and, engaging in those conversations, it's just so exciting. And it just, to see how your work touches other people's lives. That's great. That's wonderful.
I learned to be really chill about it. I used to be very neurotic about it, but when I finally realized that everybody reads a different book, reading is a creative act. And so they bring themselves and all that to your work. And it's kind of a dynamic thing. And I like that about it.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So if Barkis and Lenny could describe you in a phrase or two or three words, what might they say?
Oh my God. They would say, she who must be obeyed. I took Barkis to formal kindergarten, like puppy kindergarten, and learned all of the techniques and everything. But what I learned is, if you need to impose yourself on a dog, you need to, set yourself up as she who must be obeyed. And so both of them are like that. And it's enormously helpful, because now I can snap my fingers and one is blind and one is deaf. He went blind overnight, the little one, for no reason that anybody knows. I mean, he had like a brain fart, and he literally is blind, but he does fine. And Barkis is old, so he's deaf. So between the two of them, I have a whole dog. But they definitely give me their love and their respect, which is like more than we get from our kids sometimes, right?
Exactly. Although Lolo sometimes gets pretty stubborn. So yeah. Thank you so much for being here today.
Oh my God, this was so much fun.
And it's always so much fun to connect with fellow writers, and I know readers love to get to know their favorite authors even more. And so thank you so much for sharing with us.
Cheers to all of you. I'm drinking a beautiful Sauvignon Blanc. My niece, the sommelier, would fuss at me because I can't remember anything, but it's yummy and it's summer and it's all good. So happy reading to you. Heather, thank you again.
Thank you.